Hi, my name is Cyndi. When I was 21 years old, I became pregnant. My boyfriend was not supportive of having a baby, so it seemed to him that an abortion was our only option. He put a lot of pressure on me and even had a friend of his call me to try to pressure me also into an abortion. There was only one choice. I was fearful of what my parents would think. I couldn't bear the thoughts of my nice girl reputation being destroyed with my family, at church, and at work. A friend told me that it was just a blob of tissue. But even though I knew better and an abortion went against everything I believed in, I didn't feel strong enough to stand up for myself, so I did what I was told. My boyfriend drove me to the clinic. Everything about the abortion experience, from walking in the front door, to paying the receptionist, going from one waiting room to another, talking with the counselor, the procedure itself to the recovery room, seemed so cold and routine. I was very fearful of seeing someone that I might know. I couldn't look at anyone because of the intense shame that I felt. It seemed no one looked at or spoke to anyone else. I remember being in the pre-abortion counseling session and feeling like she wasn't hearing a word that I was saying. How could she let me go through with this, with the answers that I was giving to her questions? But soon the session was over. I was given some pills and sent to another waiting room and then off for the procedure. I can still vividly remember the pressure of them cutting my baby inside me, as well as the sucking sound of that vacuum. The whole time I was there, lying on that table, I was screaming inside, how could I be here? Get me out of here. Please tell me this isn't real. Somebody stop this. But externally, I didn't say a word. Right after the procedure, I remember getting extremely nauseous. I was so fearful of them either calling my parents or ending up in the hospital because I had gotten so sick. After it finally lessened a bit, it was time to leave. The cramps were severe. Even worse than the cramps was that I could barely walk out of the place because I was crying so hard. My boyfriend showed no compassion. He later told me that while I was in there killing our child, that he had gone to lunch with one of the workers. I never felt that my problem was dealt with. I knew immediately that I had just made the biggest mistake of my life. I had the desperate need to believe that it was just a horrible dream. I was fully aware that emotionally something was wrong. I sought counseling a few years later, but it didn't help. The counselor just didn't seem to understand what abortion could do to a person. So for the next 19 years, I suffered in silence. Up to that time, I lived with ongoing shame, guilt, and anger that clearly damaged my emotional state, as well as negatively influencing many of my decisions and affected my relationships. Though I didn't realize it until recently, I came to realize that not only did I lose the life of my child, that day a part of me died too. I couldn't allow myself to even begin to think about the baby. It was just too painful. It wasn't until I found myself dealing with a second unplanned pregnancy 11 years ago that I finally began to deal with that abortion. That pregnancy led me to the local pregnancy resource center, where they lovingly and compassionately guided me through part of the Forgiven and Set Free Bible study. They understood the pain of abortion. Through that program, I was finally able to forgive myself and realize God's forgiveness for me. Then, just last year, I attended a Rachel's Vineyard retreat, where I, along with other post-abortive men and women, found a deep level of healing. Until that weekend, I was still living with a constant underlying fear of rejection from people if they ever found out what I did. Finally, I was able to accept the fullness of the fact that I did indeed make a choice that took a real life, come to terms with it, and finally be set free. The shame and guilt of abortion no longer define me. I no longer have to hold on to this deep, dark secret. Because of the healing that I received, coupled with the desire to help other women and men become better informed of the reality of abortion, and for those of you who have aborted your children, to know that there is hope, that you too can be freed. That's why I'm silent no more.